Good day, viewers. Today we are coming with another segment on our program, Nigeria in Perspective. And specifically today we'll be looking at the Nigerian Constitution, the controversies, the inconsistencies, which have over the years caused confusion and, crisis, constitutional crisis, so to say. And today we are trying to look at this issue critically and trying to fathom out why it is so and what are the solutions to this so that it does not continue to happen. And it's my honor and pleasure to have in our midst here today to discuss this matter with us. The person in reference is a retired judge in Delta State Judicial Service, incidentally alumnus of Lagos State University, a pioneer member for that matter, one of the first set the law class of the Lagos State University. My name, MIAKPO, EMIASO. Your Lordship, sir.
Thank you so much, Gabo. I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy especially because I am here with you.
Thank you.
40 years to now, because we were in LASU together as first setters, and I want to give God the glory for making it possible for you and I to sit on one table after 40 years of being students. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Can we meet you?
Oh, well, like you said, my name is MIAKPO, EMIASO. That's what everybody calls me. But I need to explain that MIAKPO is actually a short form for a longer Isoko name, which is EMIABIBURO. And that's...
what does that mean?
Yeah, that's not very easy for a lot of people to pronounce. So I had to shorten it to EMIAKPO so that people like Gabadin can pronounce it easily. Like I said, that's my name. It's an Isoko name. I'm from Delta State. Like you said in your intro, yes, I retired from the Delta State bench, where I served as president of an area customary court for about 18 years. But even though, yes, I am from Delta State, I like to pride myself as being a Lagos boy. I think going by some definition of who a Lagosian is, I qualify to be a Lagosian. And that is because I lived all my childhood and youthful years in Lagos State. I attended primary school, secondary school, university, and worked here a number of years. Read law in the Lagos State University, became a lawyer, practiced for about 16 years in private practice, and then I got called to some higher duties on the bench of Delta State, and I had to leave. But I'm retired now, and I'm here, and I'm glad to be here with Gabo.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So as you're calling demand, we're looking at Nigeria today, and specifically our constitution. If you recall, in 1979, during the 1979 election, you remember 12 to 3rd. In the last election of 2023, the controversies about the status of Abuja, you recall, and of course, presently in Rivers State, there is this issue of, loss of seats by defecting members of the assembly, 27 of them. So, and each time we have different positions from respected lawyers and judicial practitioners. We don't seem to have a specific position that would take us out of crisis. So I now look at it that, must it be so? Is our constitution that weak? Or is it the Nigerian factor in us? In area of interpretation or whatever. So all this we want to be looking at. But before we go into that, I want to, as a background, I want you to share with us your experience, 15 years on the bench. What are your experiences? And what are the peculiarities you observe, of developments that we can say these are Nigerian, factor of a thing over the years? Thank you.
Thank you so much. You see, the Nigerian person is a unique person. When you want to talk about the peculiarities of the office of a judge, my personal experience, that peculiarity of the Nigerian was running through all of it, from beginning to the end. When I talk about the peculiarities of a Nigerian, what am I talking about? I'm talking about an unfortunate narrative about who the Nigerian is. He is somebody who is in love with cutting corners, who is more interested in getting to a destination, whether or not in the course of getting to that destination, he destroys everything along his path. To that extent, I want to say, with reference to the Nigerian Constitution and indeed all the laws that we have in this country, these are good laws. The Constitution is a good constitution to a large extent. But like the great Lord Denning once said, there is nothing available to man, to the lawmaker, to be able to know the manifold things that may happen tomorrow when he is making a particular law, so that he can make those laws to guard against every possible occurrence in the future. And that explains why, like you said, our laws are subject to so very many interpretations and all that. I don't think it is the law that is subject to that so many interpretations. It is the nature of the Nigerian peculiarity, who wants to interpret laws in a manner that favors him always and only. So even when he knows that this is what the law says expressly, and if that result, that interpretation does not favor his personal interest, he finds a way to read things into it, read things out of it, so that he can fine-tune it to favor his position. This is sad. This is sad because this is something that is happening only very recently, because the forefathers, those who founded this country, and the first generation politicians and lawyers and judges were not like that. In the First Republic, lawyers and judges were very willing to accept a straightforward interpretation of what the law says. But since we had that very long military intervention, everything now that a Nigerian does has this element of militarization, this element of get it by all means. Even if you have to break your way through it, then do so long as you get what you want to do. The issue of integrity is long dead in this country. Nigerians only now know the word as a word that is in the dictionary. The word integrity no longer manifests itself in the way we behave and in the way we deal with other people. Selfishness is the in thing now. I don't want to talk about politicians as politicians. I want to talk about politicians as Nigerians, because the politicians are Nigerians, and those who are not politicians today, who are Nigerians, if they become politicians tomorrow, I don't see them behaving any differently from the way the present politicians are behaving, which is I see the average politician as a self-serving individual. It is his interest, personal interest that matters. The interest of the common good of this country, of everybody, is secondary to him, which is rather unfortunate.
Okay, can we generalize on this? Don't we have people who are exceptional and they are still politicians who does things, differently?
They don't last. Even if you have an individual who is honest, who still remembers what the word integrity means and tries to apply it to his life, his personal life, the wider system will destroy him.
Wow.
The wider system will destroy him because he will be a misfit. He won't belong.
Among the pack.
Yes, he won't belong, and because of his position that he wants to speak the truth always, he wants to make sure that public funds are used for public benefits always, and try to block those who want to eat into public funds. He becomes an endangered species. They will destroy him and run him out of town. I don't know whether it will be safe to mention a few individuals, which I would rather not do, but I want to ask that at the risk of sounding immodest, I experienced a bit of that kind of thing while I was on the bench. That you resist corruption as a judge makes you look like an outcast. Matter of fact, even your superiors upstairs, they look at you with suspicion. That was my experience. My experience on the bench was like, from day one, I had made up my mind I was not going to leave myself open to any form of corruption. I was not going to be accessible to compromises. And since we are both great last whites, I might as well say it, there were my classmates in the law faculty then that I told them that I was never going to be a judge. I remember vividly when we were in 200 level and we had a moot trial. And I think, yes, I think the Honorable Justice Holloway came, a live judge. And after the court session, we assembled at the Vice Chancellor's office and we interacted with His Lordship. And then, somehow His Lordship explained to us that his salary at that time was 600 naira a month. And I felt, even as a student, with the little things I was doing as, outside being a student, I had more than 600 naira a month. But then the High Court judge was earning, not for me. I said, look, even if I must take an office on the bench, it will be at that time when I had achieved everything that I want to achieve in life, so that I won't be tempted to compromise my office as a judge to accept bribes. I would have built all the houses I want to build, bought all the cars I want to buy. My children would have graduated from the universities, and then I could just go to the bench and do justice, quiet justice, without anything that would tempt me to sell my conscience for a plate of porridge.
Okay. From your own perspective now, there's nothing wrong with the Constitution. It's all about interpretation and the selfish interest of those behind this. But I want to bring up as a typical example this issue of loss of seat when you defect from a party, as we are presently witnessing in Rivers State. The Constitution too, why is it silent in the case of the State Assembly as against Senate and House of Rep? Isn't that leaving a lacuna for people to manipulate?
Like I said, a great jurist had said very many years back that as at the time when the lawmaker is making laws, it is impossible for him to be able to imagine.
Know what will happen in future?
Yes. In
But
future.
this one, you remember House of Rep and Senate. Why did he forget State Assembly?
Just a moment. You know how the 1999 Constitution came into being.
We the people of Nigeria.
It was more or less like a fire brigade thing. The then military head of state had set for himself a target date for withdrawing from office and ushering in a democratic system. And everybody was working towards that deadline. And part of working towards that deadline was the production of this constitution. You cannot expect that some areas, some gray areas would be found in that kind of constitution that was rushed through, as it were. But listen, if the constitution in one part says that this is the way this kind of situation should be treated, like you say, the Constitution says at the Senate and at the House of Reps, this is what is. The Senate and the House of Reps are the legislatures, isn't it?
Of the federal.
Fine, at the federal level. I mean, if it applies at the federal level, and this brings us back to the issue of integrity. I mean, it's just for you to follow that if they're doing it like that
by inference.
Yes, we should also do it like that here. But like I said, the average Nigerian will want to interpret laws to suit him. Very sadly, they don't know the damage that they are doing to this country by so doing. There are things we call precedents. You do this kind of things, you set bad precedents to be followed, which is not the way we should go. Accept the reality that, okay, on this occasion, this does not favor me. There's always a tomorrow. Accept it, leave the place, let the law take its course. Next time, come better prepared. But no, we do not behave like that in the country, Nigeria, now. Everybody wants things for himself, forgetting that tomorrow is another day. It is like the proverbial saying that when you throw a stone into the market, you do not know who that stone will hit. Could be your son, could be your mother, could be your father. So this behavior of our people not wanting to accept defeat, not wanting to accept that the provision of the law on this particular occasion does not favor him, does damage to the society, which will manifest tomorrow.
Thank you very much. All right. Now, let's seize the opportunity to go to Rivers State, because that appears to be on the burning, burner as we speak. And we have identified this problem, this controversy arising from the Constitution. And we cannot rule out the fact that if anything happens in Rivers State, that thing will affect Nigeria. As we speak today, I think it houses the larger volume of Nigeria's treasure, if I'm not mistaken. So it should be of concern and of interest to anybody. By your own perspective, what should be the way forward in Rivers State? Given that every human being, including politicians, naturally want something to favor him. Naturally.
I think the way forward, we have to be very careful in discussing the situation in Rivers State because, you know, these issues are before the courts now.
Okay.
We do not want to start saying things that would expose us to become, tampering with things that are sub judice. That also means that what I've said earlier, if the dramatis personae in Rivers State would admit that certain rules do not, at this occasion, favor them, and, you know, let the Lord take its course. Without meaning to delve into the issues that are properly before the courts now, from my novice political position, I would say that those members of the House of Assembly in Rivers State who defected made a grave error. I am not a politician. They are the politicians. They ought to have calculated the political risks they were taking when they did what they did en masse. Those who advised them, those who prevailed upon them to do so, if that person, those people were not thinking about their personal interests alone, they shouldn't have left en masse. At least politically speaking, strategy-wise, they should have split themselves.
But this development didn't start with them. We've had such incidences in the past.
We're talking about...
I know I'm looking at it from the angle that they withdraw strength from precedents. That some people have done it in the past and they got away with it. So, in other words, along the line, we ought to have nipped it in the bud, even if we have
I don't think we have had in this country such mass defection.
We've had fewer numbers.
Yes, we have them, you know.
But what is good for the goose will definitely be good for the gander.
Yes.
I'm playing the devil's advocate.
I know so. But what I'm trying to say is that if you are dealing with just one individual who defects, you will understand that these are issues that in this country, they treat it politically. They won't go to court. They won't follow through. But if they were to follow through, we would get to a logical result. It would be easy to follow through when there is just 1 or 2, 3 people who have defected. But 25, 27 people in one fell swoop in one day, what do you think you were doing as a politician? Who were you thinking? Who were you thinking to harm when you leave en masse like that? It's like a situation.
Alan is also because there was an established crisis in the party. You know, dated back to 2023. Running towards the primaries in PDP. There was this crisis that eventually led to 5 governors withdrawing their support for the presidential candidate of their own party without leaving the party. Anyway, they withdrew their, so substantially there was crisis. And they are saying that once there is crisis, some may leave.
Let's be careful with using the word crisis for what was happening in that party at that time.
Okay.
Political contestation, and there are always, that's why they are there. It's all about contestations, politicians, they contest among themselves.
Yeah.
You can't just conclude and describe every contestation as crisis.
When it involves 5 governors?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Okay? It doesn't matter. Was there really a crisis in that party?
And then we
at
need
that
to
time?
define crisis.
Yes. Okay?
We need to define crisis.
Was there really a crisis? A crisis of the kind of the magnitude that will lead to a defection that such a crisis will protect your seat for you. Was that crisis, if you say it was a crisis, was it between these defectors and any other person out there? That crisis, identify it. What was the interest of these defectors in that crisis that you are identifying? It didn't concern them. From my understanding of the facts that unfolded at that time, the crisis was not even at Rivers State level, except perhaps a powerful Rivers State individual was involved. And this was something that was happening at the federal level, not at the state level.
Okay. Honorable, still on this defection of a thing. You know, there's this popular saying that 2 wrongs don't make a right. Right? Now, flowing from that, is it also right for the remaining 4 members in the assembly to approve the appropriation bill of the state for the governor to spend, whilst people believe that it is illegitimate of him to do so?
We must be careful.
All right.
This particular question you have asked is a question before the courts.
All right.
It's a question before the
we
courts.
have to skip it.
But then I would say this, that when they were leaving, what was their intention? To ground the state? Shouldn't the state continue to function?
The intention, according to them, is they are still members of the assembly. They are only changing party. I'm reading them. Well, I told you I am a devil's advocate here. They are not here. I'm standing for them.
They will find out in due course of time. The courts will eventually determine these issues, whether they can still keep their seats or not.
But don't forget the issue of quorum in the House.
Wait. When we look at the provision relating to quorum, it does not say X number of persons. It talks about a percentage of the number of persons who make up the House. If 25, 27 people had gone,
no, it's 32 that make up the House.
We're not looking at the number, the specific number now. Whatever is left, whatever number of persons that are left as constituting the House.
Is it captured there that those that are left?
You don't get
the word left.
Wait, get the point. Get the point I'm trying to make. You say there are 32 members of the House.
32.
Yes. Let's assume it to be 32. Quorum is a percentage of that 32. Exactly. Now, if for any reason the number of persons who constitute the House become 4, quorum will be a percentage of that 4.
I would rather think it's only when they are replaced. You know, there can't be a vacuum. So what should have followed if we insist that they have lost their seats? What should follow is replacing them.
Even if you are thinking of replacing them, somebody has to take that decision. The Constitution says the Speaker has to declare their seats vacant. So there has to be a Speaker.
And if you declare them vacant, the procedure should be for others to replace them from their different constituencies.
That replacement will come subsequent to a few things having happened.
Yeah.
Okay? Those few things that have to happen must be carried out by human beings. Okay? 4 persons were left. They constitute the House. The practice, the Constitution says these 4 people will pick one of themselves as Speaker.
Okay.
He assumes the office of Speaker. There are things the Speaker have powers to do. He carries out those things. And if there is need to fill positions now, there are things that the Speaker will do, get to INEC, get to the governor, and then steps will be taken to replace them.
Okay. So before we get guilty of prejudice, I advise we allow this matter to rest.
I really would.
Because like you said, it's before the court.
Yes, I really
so
would.
So we'll not be able to exploit it further. So just rounding up now. So what is your perspective of Nigeria generally? How have we fared? Where are we supposed to be? Where are we? And what are the debilitating factors? So let's have your views about it and round up.
There is no denying it that Nigeria is a great country.
I share that with you.
Unfortunately, Nigeria is today. So Nigeria is a great country. Nigerians are great people. Nigerians have the drive, the intellect to take the leadership of this world. But Nigerians do not appreciate what God has blessed them with. It's like we say in my place that when somebody throws a bag of gold at you and hits you, even when you feel the pain, and you do not appreciate that what has been thrown at you is gold, which is precious stone. The day they would throw a bag of thorns at you, then you would appreciate what was done for you earlier. Nigeria is a great country, but we as Nigerians are not ready to run a country the way a country should be run, that will lead to the right destination. So, the way forward for Nigeria, my perspective, I have always said in a number of public lectures that I have delivered, that given the structure by which Nigeria is run now, Nigeria has gotten to its wit's end in terms of progress. So long as we continue to run this strange form of a federal system, Nigeria cannot make any progress beyond where we are today. And it won't be too much to expect a deterioration from where we had reached. And I think we're already experiencing that deterioration. Because I saw this country when it was a great, truly great country. As a young man, I recall that I will fly into Heathrow Airport without the need for applying for a visa. Yeah. I got to Heathrow Airport and the white immigration officers were glad to see my green passport. Not anymore today. That is a sign of retrogression. I lived in this country when a return ticket to the UK was less than 800 naira. Yeah. Today, you are going to the UK for over £1 million naira just for your ticket. That's retrogression. And why is this so? There are so many examples I could give to you of a beautiful country in which I grew up as a young person, which I have lost now as an adult. All of that beauty, all of that progress that made you feel really proud as a Nigerian, we've lost it. We've lost it. Today, Nigerians are ashamed to be called Nigerians. When you hear the word Japa, 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 what does that tell you? It means that our young persons are no longer happy. They are no longer proud to be Nigerians. Okay? And it pains me so much. It pains me so much that, come on, I've seen this country as a great country, I've enjoyed it, but now I have given birth to children. Where I am going as a person is
But don't
shorter.
you think it's just a setback, as it's bound to happen in everybody's life?
Good. Even if it is
Probably leading to greater heights.
well, fine. Even if it is a setback, which could lead to a greater height, we are not taking those steps that would make us recover from the setback, and then, okay? And I say that for so long as we continue to run a unitary system in the name of a federal system, we are going nowhere. When I said that this country is blessed, this country is a great country, I mean that every part of this country is blessed with natural resources.
One natural resources or the other.
The other. There is no part of this Nigeria that is barren.
I agree with you.
Okay? But more than 90% of Nigeria is being untapped. And everybody is looking in one direction for now. Looking in one direction. That has to be so because the military plunged us into this kind of position following their unique way of a single command structure. You cannot run a country as complex as Nigeria under a single command. I've made presentations in papers in which I said we must go back to something close to what our founding fathers handed over to us. True federalism, where each constituent part of the federation is allowed to exploit those resources which it has comparative advantage in, and then contribute a percentage of what it makes to the center. This will engender healthy competition between the constituent units of the federation, one unit trying to outdo the other, as it happened in the days of the great politicians like Awolowo and Zik. You find that the West,
the pyramid in the north,
yes,
cocoa in the west,
yes, they were trying,
coal in the east.
Yes, each region was trying to outdo the other. But what we have now is that we have this great number of states, and majority of the states, if not all of them, are doing nothing to generate wealth.
Okay, part of the hope that I have, few days ago, the president took a very bold step. He took the entire 36 governors to the Supreme Court, trying to stop them from tampering with the allocation of local government under them. Of course, to me, this is a welcome development because what we have been experiencing is not palatable. Of course, there are a few states that can be exceptional, very few of them, but majority, they are guilty of that. So for the president to take it upon himself to, I think it is a right step in the right direction, and that can take us out of the doldrum. I want to add this, and I want you to respond to both together. There must be hope for this country. Whatever we are going through now, as far as I'm concerned, is a setback. If you look at democracy in the world, the basic attraction, the most popular attraction of democracy is human rights and liberty. Am I right?
Yes.
We saw that, and the number one role model of democracy in the world today is the United States of America. But a few weeks back, up until now, we saw an abuse of democracy in America in broad daylight, where students who are sympathetic to the plight of Palestinians who are conducting themselves in peaceful protests, carrying placards, singing. We could see them. They are not, pandering to destroying any public amenity. They are not quarreling with anybody. And we saw how they are being arrested in numbers, including aged people that ordinarily you expect they should be exempted, 70, 80-year-old people being handcuffed in public. So that is a clear abuse of democratic rights. If that can happen in America, which is not supposed to be, and we will still see America as great, which I believe it is, whatever setback we observe here will definitely be a thing of the past. But I will share with you that we have a duty to ensure that we embark on that path that will lead us back to greatness in the real sense of it.
We really do not have a choice. We do not have a choice but to embark on that path that will lead us out of where we have found ourselves. What I said is that we have not started to even identify that need that we need to embark on the path to get us out of where we found ourselves. And I have expressed the view that if we must get out of where we are now, we must restructure this country. We must restructure this country. Permit me to say that you need to produce wealth before you can enjoy wealth.
Yes.
We are not producing. 99% of our states are not producing. They are just waiting to collect money and distribute.
On a monthly basis.
Yes. I mean, any idiot can give you money, will be able to buy corn and eat. Any idiot can do that. We are not working. We are just spending. And we are not going to start working unless you restructure this country, like I said, to something very close to what our founding fathers handed over to us, where each of the regions exploited those
resources.
Yes, those sources of production, okay, which they found comparative advantage in. And then they paid royalties to the central government, and the central government itself will not be burdened with too many items like we currently have in our constitution, where the federal government is even free to embark in building houses for citizens. Federal government having to get involved in producing fire services and things like that. No, the federal government should have functions not more than 5 or 6, those, defense, current, yes, those things. And then leave the states, leave the constituent to take care of themselves with resources that they produce from
their region.
Yes, from their regions, from the soil, from what God has blessed them with. Okay? There are states in this country, like somebody has said, if they don't collect FARC, they won't survive in 2 months. They can't even pay staff wages. You don't live a life like that. But if you leave them alone, if you restructure and say, look, you're on your own, in fact, we are expecting you to bring royalty to us.
So they will
fold their hands and go hungry. They will work. They will begin to produce. And I say, that is the way to go. Restructure this country, which does not mean dismembering this country. Because a lot of people misunderstand when some of us say, this country must
disintegration.
Yes, it's not a disintegration, because I'm on record as having said that I am a Nigerian, I am proud to be a Nigerian, and I want to die a Nigeria.
Good.
Okay? But not this Nigeria where things are always looking south. I want to die in a Nigeria where there is true justice. Justice, social justice, justice, economic justice, justice, educational justice, everybody having what he is entitled to. And that brings us to the point you made about democracy. Democracy, great idea, but the best political idea for running a country, for running a people. But we have come to identify that because of human nature, democracy in itself is not a foolproof system.
It is not.
It is not. Just that when we search and take a good look at all the options that are available to mankind, democracy still appears to be the best. So when you say America is the best example, yes, that is what we are made to understand. But I tell you that, you know, there are things that happen in the so-called developed world, which when you see them, when you hear them, you will shiver, you will shudder. That can this really be happening in that country in these times? Okay? So I agree with you when you say when certain things happen in our climb here, we should not kill ourselves because it has happened here. Because I say it happens over there. Like somebody said, when you say there's something called prison, who invented prison? Is it not these white people? All the bad things are gone. Who manufactures gun? Do we manufacture weapons for destroying people? These people do.
And who does mass killing?
Yes. I mean, these people do. I mean, so democracy is good. We will continue to try to be democratic in our country, my recommendation. But let us not say there's one country, be it the UK, be it the US, be it Russia, be it Germany, that you have 100% everything going utopian. No. Because human beings are human beings. And this country is populated, inhabited by humans. Those countries are also populated and inhabited by humans. And we're all basically humans.
Thank you very much. Definitely we cannot exhaust this today. And so we'll leave it for another time. Permit me to thank you so much for finding time to come out of your very tight schedule. You are briefly in Lagos for an assignment, and you just choose out of your time to honor us here. Thank you so much. MIAKPO, EMIASO.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.